Do you think the James River is safe to go into?
Not really, no. I mean, every time I've looked at it, I mean, it looks murky and it looks pretty gross, so, I mean, I wouldn't want to get in it.
Just being by nature of near a city, you're probably having a lot of nitrates run off, so I'd probably avoid it.
It's not my first choice of a place to swim.
The James River, the largest river in the state of Virginia, is the source of drinking water for 2.7 million people across the state. The 348-mile-long river has been home to wildlife and people for hundreds of years. However, the river itself has a reputation. It has had a history of pollution stemming back to when the city of Richmond was first built.
The city of Richmond is here because there was abundant energy. You could bring a ship up as far, or a boat as far as 14th Street, but then you couldn't go further upstream. But what you could do is you could bring in stuff like grain or lumber and process it.
It was this push for industry that began the river's reputation for its unclean nature.
And later on, if you begin to make paper, you use lots of chemicals. What do you do with the chemical? You have to wash the slurry in order to make paper. You throw that into the river. But who cares, right? Drinking water came from springs. This was just a way to get pollution out of sight.
And to most, there didn't seem to be a problem. The streets were clean. The pollution that the factories were producing just wasn't there. Out of sight, out of mind. In 1972, Virginia adopted the Clean Water Act, which stopped businesses from dumping waste or any other chemicals into Virginia waterways. However, in 1975, just 3 years after the Clean Water Act was passed, a harmful insecticide known as ketone was spilled at large quantities into the river, causing nearby workers to become sick from the neurotoxin. This forced Virginia to place a 13-year ban on commercial fishing.
But the interesting part about ketone is that it agglomerates with little particles of mud, which means that it sinks down. And every time there's a flood, it comes back up, but it agglomerates more, and it's heavier, and it sinks down.
The rise of industry and pollution wasn't found to be an issue until diseases like impetigo began affecting the locals. It led to a concern that other deadly diseases could reemerge. The fears only increased when the city began implementing a way to reduce sewage waste, building a combined sewage overflow system. The sewage would be sent into a pipe network that stretched throughout the city. It would later be pushed out into the river once a storm came through and filled the rest of the pipe with storm water.
In the early days, the river was considered not just a way to send the unwanted sewage downstream, but the river was also considered an instrument for treating the sewage because the natural processes would take care of it over a period of time. So the river itself was kind of considered a sewage treatment plant.
Though the combined sewer overflow system is still in place, other systems of sewage containment and treatment have been implemented. The sewage rainwater retention basin near Shockoe Bottom has been keeping raw sewage stored safely and, more importantly, out of the river. Similar to the combined sewer overflow system, the basin takes in sewage when a storm flushes the stagnant water out of the pipes.
Then you get this surge of street runoff, and it works like a plunger, like a piston, and it grinds through the pipes and pushes a really bad wad of polluted water ahead of it. That used to go into the river. Now it doesn't. That first flush goes into the sewage retention basin, the largest sewage retention basin, I believe, in the United States. It's either 4 stories or 6 stories in height, in depth. That's a lot of water that doesn't go into the river.
From the basin, the polluted water is slowly pumped into the wastewater treatment plant, where it is collected, screened, and strained to keep debris out of the equipment, and thoroughly filtered before sending the clean water back into the river. One of the reasons many people feel the water is still unsafe is because of its color. The once clear waters have long since taken a brown tint. This unsettling murky shade is caused by the sediment the river erodes and picks up from its banks.
I think we've seen some higher sediment loads, which are going to come from runoff and things upstream.
According to the James River Association, agricultural practices and land development are the 2 main sources of sediment in the James. Regulations for development and construction and agricultural best management practices have helped to address sediment issues. However, sediment remains the greatest ongoing pollution problem in the James. Agriculture also creates pollution through livestock waste. Streams that run through farms collect the waste and send it into the river, creating a pollution problem once more. And as of right now, there isn't a direct solution to this issue. But if the community takes notice, perhaps one day there will be. Looks and rumors have made it so the James has been unable to repair its broken reputation, but the river has come a long way from where it began.
It's certainly a river now that I feel very comfortable swimming in.
A rich experience for recreating the quality of life, which is what recreation is all about. And that's what this park represents.
A river thought to be massively polluted is healthy, and while there is still more to be done to return it to how it once was, Richmonders and Virginians alike can get in knowing that their river is safe for them to use.